do whatever you want. It's your pattern now. It's out in the world for you. I happen to be very rarely just standing up with my arms down. If I hadn't told you, I'm not sure you would have guessed there are pockets. I couldn't call my pattern the cheater shorts. I am the queen of yarn chicken, and if I can knit something top down, I will. Hi, my name is Maya, and welcome to episode 70 of my knitting podcast, where I share all my thoughts, process, and other random stuff about all things fiber related, but mostly knitting. Today is the 21st of January 2026, and I'm coming to you from the French-speaking part of Switzerland, where I live with my gecko. I have a ton of things to tell you about today, as usual. I have two finished objects, one of which was cast on and finished since the last podcast episode. I have 3 works in progress, and I have a pattern release that was actually released last week, but last week's video was not a podcast, so I didn't mention it. But I have a pattern release, and I have a giveaway. No, I have to announce the winner from the giveaway I did in the last podcast episode, which was 2 weeks ago. So I am also going to announce that at the very end of the episode. But before that, let's start with what I'm wearing, which is also today's pattern release. And I'm probably going to take it off at some point because I'm already too hot. But this is the Shady Hoodie, which is a design of mine that I have released last Thursday. And it's a hoodie, but you cannot really tell because I don't have the hood on, but it's here. The giant, marvelous, wonderful, super large hood, and yeah, it looks like this on, and I made it super big because I wanted to be able to have my quite long and bulky hair underneath whenever I have a bun, which is not the case here, but if I have a bun, you can imagine the hood is big enough to fit it, and also if I have headphones on, which I do have with me. So if I take this off, put the headphones, pull the hood, yeah, there you go. It's big enough. Ha, I'm so pleased. So this is the Shady Hoodie, and yes, it has 2 hood size options. If you want to have a normal sized hood, you can also do that. But I'm going to show you pictures of what it looks like from all kind of angles that are going to be much better for you to see and judge how this looks like, without me having to like turn around and do gymnastics to show you all the angles here. So it's a DK weight top-down cardigan. It's worked using the ziggurat method for the shoulders, which is a type of simultaneous, something like that, set in sleeve construction. So the point is that you work up the shoulder slope with short rows on the shoulders and a sleeve cap on the sleeves, all at the same time without ever cutting the yarn. It may sound complicated, but it's just one of those, trust the process. Your hand is held the whole time, you just have to follow the instructions, and at the end you have a satin sleeve yoke, and it's awesome. And the fit is amazing, as you can probably tell here. Whenever I lift my arm, it's not as if the whole cardigan was coming up with me. That's because there's a great fit around here. And it has also pockets that you can probably see in the pictures, and it has double knit button band on the front. So if I open this up without touching the mic too much, you can see here it opens until the bottom, but you get the idea. And this flappy thing is double knit. And there is also this edge here that runs from the bottom of the garment all the way to the hood. And this is what's... My hair are in the way. This is what's connecting the hood to the body, and I'm so pleased with this detail. And it's pretty funny because at the very beginning of the designing process of this one, when I didn't really know how to call it yet, one of the options was flappy hoodie. I didn't call it that way because I learned, thanks to Leah, that flappy means something, yeah. You don't want to call a pattern like that. But the flappy was referring to this thing because it's flapping like this. But turns out, when you have the buttons open, this double knit section is flappier than this one. So it's like a double flappy thing. which I find pretty funny. But anyway, that's not the name. The name is Shady Hoodie, because my sample is black and it's fun to say Shady Hoodie, and also because you can be shady with this hoodie on. Yeah, I just thought it was a funny name. And the yarn I used is also something to do with shades, because it's Night Shades by Harrisville Designs, and this one is the colorway Fever Dream. It's 100% Cormo wool, American Cormo wool, and it's like a black base heathered with some colors, and each colorway is black heathered with a different color. So this one is heathered with red, which is why it's mostly black, but it has hints of red when the lights hits it. And there are a ton of other beautiful colors. And it's one of my favorite yarns because it's super soft, but it's also rustic, it's super lightweight, it's sturdy, it's sticky, but it's not itchy, and yeah, it's really an amazing yarn. And it's called Nightshades, so it went well with the whole theme of Shady Hoodie. But there is also a Daylight range where it's a white base heathered with the different colors you can also find in the Nightshades range. So there's that, if you don't want something black, because in black you cannot really see the details, which is a shame because there are a lot of beautiful details in this one. And I'm also going to show you the testers version, because they did use, a lot of them, most of them did use lighter colors. And it was so fun because whenever I was seeing pictures of another sample with a color that wasn't black, I was like, wow, the details are beautiful. Like, as if I was discovering them, because I can't really see, I mean, I can see the IDs here, but it's so much more striking when you're using a lighter color. And yeah, the details were striking me whenever I was seeing a tester version. So that was fun to discover. So I'm definitely going to show them to you here, because you probably haven't grasped all the details that are in this design. Mostly, something I didn't mention is that all the edges, so the cuffs, the bottom hem, and the edge of the pockets, as well as this border detail all around the hood, are all in seed stitch. Because I have a problem with ribbing, I just don't really like that. And I figured it would be nice for a change to not have like everything in ribbing, especially this one. I really didn't want it to have ribbing here. So I used seed stitch everywhere, and I think it's looking really nice. I mean, mine is black, so you cannot really see anything, but I think it gives a nice change. And you can also swap it for ribbing if you really want to. Do whatever you want. It's your pattern now. It's out in the world for you. Now, regarding the sizes, something I want to mention, a few things. So first, it's size inclusive, so the sizing goes from very small to very big. But some sizes haven't been tested. I don't know them on the top of my heart, top of my head, on the top of my head. I don't know them by heart on the top of my head. So it's going to be written here. But those sizes haven't been tested. So if you'd like to knit up one of those, you can contact me via email or send me a message or whatever. And I will send you the pattern for free in exchange for your feedback, so that you don't have to buy a pattern with the intent to knit it in a size that hasn't been tested, so that you can test it for me, if you agree to do so. Otherwise, you can just buy the pattern and not tell me anything, and then you don't have to give me feedback. It's up to you. And also, something that I completely forgot to mention when I did the release on Instagram is that there are two versions of the pattern. The first one is the normal version, and the second one is the light version. And the instructions, the written instructions on the light version are lighter. Because it's kind of complicated. I mean, there is the zigzag construction that most people have never done, and there's the double knit button band, and you do increases in double knitting. And there are the pockets, and then the border, and the hood, and there are short rows in the hood, and a ton of stuff happening. So it's quite heavy in instructions. So there is the light version that is less hand-holding, less guidance, less tips, less explanations, and more facts, if I can say that like that. So that's why there are two files in the pattern if you buy it. It's because there's the normal instructions and the light instructions. I think the light version is 2 pages shorter. Yes, which may sound like not a lot, but trust me, it is. And it does make a difference whenever you're skimming through the pattern. At least for me, it does. And one last thing I wanted to mention is that it's something I also completely forgot. I'm forgetting a lot of things lately. But when I released the Gecko Meets last December. So whenever I do a test knit, I gift a free pattern of my library to my testers, but there are some testers that are returning testers and they kind of have all my patterns at some point because I don't have that many patterns. So this person said she could gift her coupon code for a free pattern of mine to someone that would need a free pattern. And then I said I would gift this free pattern on Christmas Day, but then on Christmas Day, first I was sick and I was celebrating Christmas with my family, so I just completely forgot. So I'm thinking about it now. So if you would like to get a free pattern of mine, you can just send me an email and tell me you would like a free pattern and I will just give you the coupon code, no questions asked. And this is for people who cannot afford to buy a pattern but still want to knit one of my patterns. So I encourage you, if you can afford a pattern, please leave this coupon code to someone in need. I'm just going to wait for the first person that's going to write to me an email, not a DM, please, an email. And I'm just going to send you the coupon code for that. But also, before you write to me, please check in the description box if someone has already claimed the free pattern, because otherwise I'm going to get flooded with people who ask for the free pattern even though the coupon code is already gone. So please check in the description box if the free pattern has already been claimed or not before writing to me. And for the next test knits I'm going to do, I think I'm going to give the opportunity to testers to give their free copy to someone else if they want to, because there are quite a few people who already own all my patterns and probably some people who are not in for the free pattern and are happy to give it to someone else that might need it more than them. So I'm going to give this option in the future. So thank you, Michelle, for reminding me that this was a possibility, and definitely for next pattern releases, there are going to be, I guess, more coupon codes available for people in need. I think that's all I wanted to say. I am overheating so bad. I'm so hot right now. But hopefully the sun is going to go away, so I'm going to be less hot, but we'll see. All right, there's one more thing I wanted to say about this that I forgot. So, no, two things actually. It's that I'm going to modify my sample because I'm not 100% happy with it. The first thing is something I already mentioned, is that the sleeves are a bit too short. I mean, whenever I'm standing up like this, the length is fine, but I happen to be very rarely just standing up with my arms down. Usually I'm knitting or I'm at my desk or I'm just doing stuff. And whenever I'm doing stuff or knitting at my desk, the sleeves run up my arms and I pretty often end up like this. And this is too short. So I want to lengthen the sleeves. And Michelle, again, the one who gifted her coupon code for a free pattern of mine, also made me realize I could just cut off the sleeve here, lengthen it, and then graft it back together instead of re-knitting the whole sleeve. So I am going to do that. But I am also going to add a high collar to this because some testers, two actually, if I remember correctly, did this modification. So instead of stopping the button band here, they picked up stitches around the whole neckline and they just continued knitting straight up in double knitting. And it looks so good. It's like so cool. I'm jealous. So I am going to do this modification because I have almost a full skein of yarn left, which is definitely enough to lengthen the sleeves and add this. Because I want the same, because it's awesome. And the funniest is that actually when I was designing this, I think it was like August, because I was doing the summer knitting journal video series. So you can kind of see every day my progression with designing this one. And at some point I was wondering if I should do a high collar or a square neck kind of thing like this. And I asked in the comments and quite a few people said that the high collar would be super cool. And I knew it, but I just wasn't sure of having the high collar and the super bulky hood. I just thought it would be a bit too much. And now I regret my decision because it's not too much, it's just so cool. And one of the two testers who did this modification, she did it because she ran out of yarn. So she hand spun the whole yarn for the whole project and unfortunately she ran out. So she doesn't have the hood and she just did the high collar to replace the hood, I guess. But the other tester did both, so the hood and the high collar. And it's beautiful. I want it. So I'm gonna do that. So this is not completely finished because I'm gonna do some modifications on it, and then I'm gonna add also a last button here. But then it means that I haven't worn it a single time since I finished it because the sleeves are too short, and also this yarn is going to like soften up and bloom a lot with washing, and I know that because I have a sweater, it's drying right here because I just washed it, that I knit in this yarn, and the texture of the fabric is completely different from this one because the other one I have worn for 3 years and it's one of my most worn sweaters. But I know for a fact that if I try to like cut off a sleeve, add some yarn and then graft it back together, there's going to be a major texture difference between the new yarn and the older yarn, and I don't want this to happen to this one. So I'm stopping myself from wearing it until I do those modifications because I don't want to have different textures on the arm and on the neckline, which is dumb because I really love it, but I'm not wearing it. So hopefully I can find the courage to do this quite big modification because the double knit collar is going to be a lot of knitting, and then there's the whole cutting, adding length, grafting back for both sleeves. Yeah, it's going to be a lot, but hopefully I can do it soon. Okay, 20 minutes just for one thing, so I'm going to be hopefully quicker for the rest of what I want to tell you about. So the next thing is my 2 finished objects. The first one is here. So it's my next design and it's a summer garment. It's a pair of shorts and I finished knitting them. So this is what they look like, and they are unblocked, which is why the bottom is looking like this. It's rolling up on itself completely, but this is 100% hemp yarn, so once it's blocked, it's gonna straighten out on the edges, I have no doubt. So it's gonna be fine, but it's not blocked yet, so I'm sorry, it looks pretty weird. But yeah, this is a pair of shorts, and it has pockets, if I can hold them. There, you have pockets, and I'm really pleased with how invisible they are, because when I hold them like this, if I hadn't told you, I'm not sure you would have guessed there are pockets, but they are on each side here. I'm so proud. And the waistband is elasticated. I haven't closed the hole here because I need to sew down and I don't have my sewing machine out, but whatever. And they are short rows to lengthen the back. I'm not sure you can tell because it's rolling so bad, but yeah, I think you can see. Maybe if I hold it like this, I have only one leg out. Here, this is the back and it's much longer than the front. I mean, it's rolling, but you get the idea. Thanks to some short rows to cover the bottom of your booty. Because we don't want to have everyone seeing into your shorts whenever you lean forward or like go up a stairs or stuff like that. So I'm very, very pleased with that. And it's looking great, but I have no way to be 100% sure until it's blocked. So there is a world in which I'm gonna have to unravel, but I really don't think so because it fits me very well as is. The yarn I used is, this is all I have left. It's so satisfying. The yarn I used is Pernel by Natisea in the colorway Bleu Gris, and it's 100% hemp yarn. It's made in France, if I'm not mistaken. And I use 4 skeins, so this is pretty heavy. It's like a little under 400 grams. And yeah, so I was worried I wouldn't have enough yarn because at first I wasn't supposed to do the pocket linings in knitting, but I decided to go with that. So I was pretty worried I would run out, but in the end it's fine. They should be long enough. I cannot show you how it looks like on because since they are not blocked, the fabric is very stiff and not drapey at all. And it's kind of going to look like trash, so I think it's going to, how do you say that? Ne pas rendre service, not do justice to the pattern, to the design if I show what it looks like when it's unblocked, so I'm not going to show you. But hopefully I should block it at the end of the week, and then I'm going to do one of those reels where you can see before blocking, after blocking, because I think the transformation is going to be incredible with this. Because this yarn has a beautiful drape, like incredible drape. Actually, I'm wearing my other garment in this yarn. So this is what the drape looks like. Can you see this? Oh my god, it's gorgeous. This top is pretty old. I did it, I think, 2 years ago. Yeah, something like that. And I wear it all the time. Winter, summer, spring, fall, all the time. It's one of my favorites because it's just, yeah, The fabric is so comfortable, it's so soft, it's drapey, it's, yeah, beautiful. So those shorts are gonna look like this once they are blocked. So definitely trying them on like this is not gonna do them justice. I had to close off the jacket because otherwise the mic was flapping away from me and I'm pretty sure you couldn't really hear me well. So I was saying, I'm gonna show this again when it's blocked, and I think in the podcast that's gonna be when the test call happens, and hopefully that should be mid-February. So if you're interested, there's the info. And regarding the name, that I still haven't told you, so there was a whole story behind it, and it's pretty funny. So the first pattern I ever published is the skater skirt, which is a skater style skirt. And I like the name because skater skirt, it's an alliteration, it's fun to say, and it's easy to remember, all of that. And since those shorts have kind of the same vibe, they have a lot of positivities, they are flowy, they are summery, and yeah, kind of similar in style to the skirt. So I wanted a name that was kind of similar, not the same, but just, you know, same but different. So the first idea was, since skater skirt start with the same three first sounds, I would say, I was like, shorts could be either sheeter shorts or shooter shorts, which is obviously a super bad idea. I couldn't call my pattern the sheeter shorts. So I was like, okay, no, let's just keep the first sound. So either sh or s. And I also wanted a name that was kind of summery, and also when you hold it like this, you can see those vertical details that kind of radiate like the sun. So I wanted something that was kind of connected to the sun, to the summer, and started with an S. And I landed on the Sunnyside shorts. And I think it's pretty cute, because there is definitely a Sunnyside vibe to those. So that's what I ended up with. I think it's cute. I'm not 100% sold, I'm more like 99%. I might still change my mind, but I think Sunnyside shorts is fun to say, easy to remember, it's cute, it's summery, and it's related to the sun, so kind of ticks all the boxes. But yeah, that's the name for now. There is also something I wanted to mention about the yarn. So I did say that this hemp yarn is pretty, what was the word? Stiff and rough at first, but I showed you already how beautiful and drapey it gets with blocking. But when you knit with it for the first time, it's kind of surprising, I would say. And since I was knitting furiously on this thing because I really wanted to finish it because I was so excited, I was knitting a lot and I knit quite tight, and the yarn did cut into my fingers, so you can maybe see here. Yeah, there is a little bit of a dent in my finger, and here as well. So this hole is because of climbing, and of course I hurt my finger exactly where I hold my yarn. So the injury because of the thread is the line, and then there is this hole because of climbing. But yeah, it was it was getting complicated to knit, so I had to strap my finger so that I could finish this. And on top of that, I had to unravel so many times because I kept on doing mistakes. In the short rows on the back, the ones that make the back longer, because I wanted to get them really right, and I've never done short rows on the back of a pair of shorts, so I didn't really know how to go about them. So I was trying out something and then ripping back and then trying something else and then ripping back again. But I also have to think how I'm gonna do the short rows for all sizes. So even if it works for my sizes, I want the instructions to be simple, easy to understand and to follow for all the sizes. So yeah, I had to unravel quite a lot of times until I found the sweet spot that was everything I just mentioned. And I had a mishap with the pockets because, so basically you need the shorts in a round and you need the pocket flaps flat. You start here at the top and then you join the pocket flaps with the rest of the shorts here by knitting two together, all the stitches from the pocket flap with the rest of the body. So I finished knitting the body of the shirt until here, of the shorts until here, and then I started knitting the pocket flap for the same number of rows until it was the same length. And then I did that for the second pocket, and then I joined everything together. And I looked at my shorts like that, and I was like, wait a minute, the pocket flap are shorter than the shorts. And that's because when I knit flat, I knit tighter. So even if I had the same number of rows on the pockets than on the shorts were longer because the row gauge was longer when I knit in a round. So I had to unravel both pockets to knit them again, and I went down not 1 but 2 needle sizes. So the shorts are knit on 3mm, and I went up to 3.5 for the pockets. And the gauge is still a little bit tighter because I just knit so tight when I'm flat. It's just how it is. For most people, it's the opposite, but I did include in the pattern to be careful that your flat gauge and in-round gauge should match, because that's the type of thing you really don't want to unravel the pockets, because there are increases in the sides of the pockets, and it's a little bit, you just don't want to make 4 pockets. And I did 5. And also something that was not funny at all is that this yarn makes so much dust, like so much dust, that I had like a layer of dust on top of my desk when I was done knitting with them, because of all the unraveling and manipulating and all of that. Just from moving this like this in front of me for 5 minutes, I already have a layer of dust on my note here. And on my phone as well. I'm not sure you're going to see that, but I have this layer of dust now. Now that those are finished, I have vacuumed everything. I still think there's a lot of dust in here because I keep on sneezing all the time, and I'm sure it's because of that. But hopefully in a few weeks the dust is going to be gone. But this is definitely also a summer knit, because I recommend you knit on this yarn outside, or at least you unravel it outside, so that you don't have too much dust inside. So that's it for this guy. So the second finished object is much smaller, because it's something I have cast on after last podcast, and I finished it in a few days. So it's a pair of socks. I have finished the 2 socks. They are super cute. And they look super small because they are ribbed on the top here, and they are stockinette on the bottom. And they are DK weight, which is why they went so fast. And basically I just realized I really enjoy DK weight socks, and have a lot of fingering weight or DK weight superwash leftovers, and I decided to stop overthinking and just make socks with them. So those are a pretty pair, because I had enough of this to do the whole thing and enough to do heels and toes. Heels and toes. But I did have a little bit of yarn left. So with the leftovers, I have cast on another pair of socks, which is very similar, except I did the toe a little bit longer. Can you see? There you go. The toe is a little bit longer in purple. I just had a lot of purple left, so I decided to do that. And those are going to look very scrappy because I have divided my yarn left in half. So I have used half of the pink yarn in this, and this is going to go into the second sock. And then I have this ball left, and also this one. So this one, this small one, was big like this before I did the toes. So this is going to be for the heel of this sock, and then with this second bigger ball I'm going to do the toes and the heel of the second sock. And I'm going to use whatever other DK weight superwash yarns leftovers I have to complete the rest of the sock, so that hopefully at least the toes and the heels are going to match, and it's going to make them look a little bit less chaotic, although they are going to be super chaotic. But it's fine. If I have 1 pair of super chaotic socks and 3 pairs of super cute socks like this, it's fine by me. And I don't have any pattern, I just winged it, and I knit them from the toe up, which is not my preference, but this is what allows me to use make the most out of my yarn whenever I'm using leftovers, which is the case here. I mean, it's not even leftovers. I unraveled stuff I wasn't wearing, so the purple is from a hat, and then the pink is from a crochet top I wasn't wearing. And I really enjoy making those because they are super portable, and they kind of take a lot of time because I'm knitting them on 3mm, so the gauge is pretty tight. And as you can see, I make them pretty long. I mean, pretty long for my standards, because I usually make my socks short. And I just enjoy knitting socks, so that's what I do. Oh, and something about the construction. So what I like to do is, so I finish the toe here, and then I start increasing gently on the foot. So basically the toe is too small, I would say, compared to a normal knitting pattern. And I do gentle increases, so I have 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. So 4 times I increase 2 stitches, so I increase 8 stitches overall on the foot. before I start the heel, and then I do a heel on more than half of the stitches so that the heel is deeper, and then I decreased I think 4 stitches again after the heel because my ankle is very small, so that I have a nice fit around the whole foot. So if I try them on to show you, oh, and by the way, can you see? I'm wearing my mini leg warmers that I showed you, I think it was in last episode, and I have this strap at the bottom, and I said I wasn't sure it would be very comfortable to wear because I might feel it at the bottom of my foot. And I'm happy to report I do not feel it. I mean, I can feel it whenever I put the thing on, and for the first hour or so, I can tell it's there. But then I just forget, and it's just as comfortable as a normal sock. So, very happy about that. Which means I'm going to be able to make more like those because they are so comfortable and easy to wear. So this is what they look like. It's kind of difficult to show. And you can maybe tell that the ribbing is a little bit stretched. I'm gonna fall. A little bit stretched up here, but it's more stretched around my heel, which means I could have increased more. So instead of increasing 8 stitches over the course of the foot, I could increase 10 or even 12, I think, and do even deeper heel because this is a little bit tight. I mean, it's fine. I cannot feel any particular tightness, but my arch is so deep that I need so much fabric around here to be comfortable and not too tight. So for the second sock, I am increasing more rapidly, and I think I'm gonna have 2 more stitches for now, and if it's still not enough, then for the next pair I'm gonna add 4 stitches for the heel until I hit the sweet spot and have a perfect fit. So yeah, that's my recipe for toe-up socks, and there's gonna be much more in the future because I really enjoy them. Now, speaking about small portable project, I'm gonna keep the biggest work in progress for the end. So I also cast on a hat, which looks a bit weird for now. Yeah. It's a top-down hat because just as with socks, I like to make the most out of my yarn. So I prefer to knit my hats from the top down so that I can just stop whenever I run out of yarn. I'm not using a pattern because I would like to make, I think you have probably recognized it if you know the Manhattan hat by Tori Yu. And it's not the same pattern that has this type of crown shaping. There are a lot of them, but all of them, at least from what I have seen, all of them are bottom up. And I'm sure knitting it bottom up is easier, but I am the queen of yarn chicken, and if I can knit something top down, I will. And it's not even that difficult, so I'm not sure why not everybody is doing it top down, but yeah, whatever. So there's no pattern, I'm just doing this for my boyfriend, Mr. Tinks. I'm not even sure I'm gonna make a pattern because it's so obviously not even inspired, it's copied from the Manhattan hat and all those different hats, but also it's top down, so yeah, I'm really not sure, whatever. For now, it's just a hat for Mr. Tinks, and it's gonna be endless one by one knitting in the round until I run out of yarn, which is gonna take ages, so this is very nice portable project for me, because the socks, one sock is 4 hours, that goes fast when you're in public transit. So I have this first, it's not 50 grams, I think it's like 56 grams, and this second one. And the yarn I'm using is Journey Sport by Julie Asselin, which I think is Canadian, but I'm not 100% sure. And it's 80% Rambouillet, 20% Targhee, 56 grams, 122 meters, which is super annoying to know how much meters you have in 100 grams, but whatever. And it's a sport weight. So this is the tag, Julie Asselin Journey Sport, with the composition. And I have to say, I am really impressed with the quality of this yarn. I know Julie Asselin is a pretty high-end type of yarn, but I had never knit with it, and I'm like, wow. Because when I unraveled the skein to make it into a cake, so I had the skein in my arms like this, and I tried to test the elasticity by pulling on it, and it was so elastic, like I had never seen that. And I love elastic yarn, so it's something I see a lot, but this one was really impressive. And yeah, you can just tell in the squishiness of this small 50-gram ball, and also in the squishiness of this work in progress. So of course it's ribbing, but yeah, it's really a beautiful yarn, and I would love to have a sweater in that one day, maybe. And I'm using 2.75 millimeters, and I think that's it. Probably next time you see this, it's going to be finished. But the question is, will I have too much yarn and have leftovers that I'm not going to know what to do with? Who knows? Suspense is real. Okay, so I think, yeah, there is only one last thing left to talk about, which is my biggest work in progress, which definitely didn't progress at all because it went back a lot. So this is my Patagonia Peaks Lite. It's not light like in the lighter instructions when I mentioned this pattern. It's Lite, Lite, meaning the gauge is lighter than the original version, because the original version is in iron weight and this is DK weight. And I was finished, completely finished with the whole body and one whole sleeve, and I was halfway through the second sleeve and I unraveled everything. Because the gauge was wrong, I just decided to knit looser compared to my swatch, which happens sometimes. Which is why you should check your gauge regularly whenever you knit on something, even though you swatched. Always check your gauge in your final project, because the gauge is likely to change. So first there's that, and then I wasn't happy with the proportions of the charts of the peaks, and I wasn't happy with the way the fabric looked because of the looser gauge, and the sleeves and the body were too long. And also, something I didn't mention is that I messed up something at the underarms, and it was feeling a bit tight because I pulled the float too tight at the underarm, so it was kind of pinching the fabric like this. So I just unraveled everything. I mean, everything. I unraveled the whole color work, and I just separated for the sleeves and the body. And this could seem like not a lot of progress since the last episode, but it took me 10 days to unravel the color work because it was so painful. I hated it. I would rather knit 3 times the body and the sleeves of the sweater than unravel 1 time the body and the sleeves. It was terrible. Because the yarn I'm using, so the yarn I'm using is 100% Merino DK superwash boucle base, so it looks like this in the skin. And it's this kind of, it's very trendy at the moment. And yeah, it's DK weight, it's boucle, it's a gorgeous yarn, and it gives very nice characteristics to the fabric, quite different from what you see usually from a standard yarn like this one. But to unravel, it's an absolute pain, because the yarn is super sticky to itself. So first it's difficult to unravel because you have to pull quite hard and you don't want to mess up the yarn. And also, since it sticks to itself and it's color work, I always have 2 colors attached at the same time. So I unraveled 2 rows in one color, and then 2 rows in the other color. So I have 2 little piles of yarn, and if the yarns touch, they stick together. And it's a nightmare to separate, and then I have knots everywhere, and it's terrible, because usually when you unravel color work, you can just like pull on one color and you make a ball with it or whatever, or you use your yarn winder, or I don't know, and you just pull on one color. And when you have done a big chunk of progress, you can go with the other color and wind a big chunk of that, and you can go big chunks by big chunks. But with boucle, you can't. You have to go 2 rows by 2 rows, because otherwise it gets tangled. And it was a nightmare. It took me 10 days, because every time I was like, okay, I'm just going to sit down and finish unraveling this thing. 30 minutes later, I had done like 1 pattern repeat, and I was like, I'm done. I cannot see it anymore. I'm done. I have to take a break. So that's why it took so long. But now, finally, I'm back on track, and I finished the part where I had to think, which was separating the body and sleeves. So now that it's separated, it's just smooth sailing. I just knit, 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 and it's so much easier and more enjoyable than ripping back. So yeah, very pleased with that. And other than that, the test is going smoothly. Hopefully testers are going to have less issues than me. And yeah, That's my progress, not progress on my Patagonia Peaks Lite. I didn't really tell you what the yarns were. So it's a boucle DK weight base. And the purple is from Explorer Knits and Fibers, so the main color on the yoke. And it's a colorway Bluebird Day. And the other three colors, so the light blue, the medium blue, and the dark blue, are custom dyed colorway for me by Breathe In Color Fiber Company. So they don't really have colorway names. They are called Blue 1, Blue 2, and Blue 3. And I'm super pleased with them. And it's looking so good, and I'm so happy. So yeah, this is this work in progress. There is something I wanted to tell you about regarding this type of base, because a few things happened on Instagram, and I thought it was maybe time to do a little PSA or maybe a reminder to everyone, because I feel like, yeah, it's something that needs to be addressed, because I have never heard anyone talk about that, and I think it's a problem. There was a very famous yarn dyer, I'm not going to say who it was, who did a super nice post on Instagram to give inspirations for patterns to knit with this type of DK boucle yarn. Beautiful post. It was really very inspiring. Presentation was gorgeous. Everything was really nice. But she did suggest the Patagonia Peaks, the original version in Aran weight. And the gauge for that, I think for the color work, it's like 16 stitches, and with the boucle yarn, and boucle tend to fill up the gaps, so if you want to use a non-boucle yarn, you should go more like chunky weight than Aran weight. But this pattern is written up for Aran weight boucle yarns, but the dyer in the post was suggesting to use the DK weight boucle yarn. Don't do that. It's not going to work, really not. The garter is going to be too flimsy and it's going to stretch out of shape super fast. And the color work, if you hold the yarn single, it's going to be see-through. Because I had the issues because my gauge was too big and I was knitting on 4 millimeters, but the Aran weight version is knit on 5 millimeters. So if you try to hit gauge with the DK weight yarn, you're going to have the same problem as I am with the 4 millimeters, but knitting too loosely. And you're going to see the floats of the other color behind the stitches of one color. So for example, so here the contrast is not strong enough to really see the effect, but before in the other version, I had, for example, a light peaks and then a dark blue background like this one. And you could see the dark blue floats behind the light stitches. You could just see through because the gauge was too loose. So if you try to hit the Aran weight gauge with this DK weight yarn, you're just going to see everything through the stitches. So I did that in the comments of the post and I just said, hey, thanks for the mention, all of that. It was a very nice comment. I was really polite and nice. And I just mentioned DK weight yarn is not advised for this pattern, but I have a pattern coming out in DK weight later, blah, blah, blah. And the dyer answered that she thought it would be fine because she has knit this DK weight yarn with 5mm needles, which are US 8, very successfully, and the fabric is beautiful. And I have no doubt this is true because this yarn can be very drapey and gorgeous, and I think if you go up needle sizes, you can really have a gorgeous fabric. Zero doubt about that. However, for color work and garter, you're going to have structural issues and you're going to see the colors through. So no, you cannot knit the Aran weight version of the pattern with DK weight yarn. And that's when it gets a little bit difficult because ultimately, yarn dyers, they want to sell you their product. So they are going to tell you this yarn is going to work for this project, even though they haven't tried it. And you should always swatch. So I find it a bit conflicting that people suggest to use this yarn or that yarn for this pattern, even though they have never tried it, because there's actually a chance it might not work. And if you're buying super cheap, like commercial yarns, like drops or stuff like that, it's fine because it's not too much of an investment. But if you buy hand-dyed yarn and you invest $200 into a sweater quantity and then it doesn't work, it hurts. So yeah, it's a little bit difficult to juggle around because I couldn't really tell this dyer that no, it doesn't work. Even if you like the lighter gauge of the DK weight yarn on larger needles, it would work for maybe some texture or stockinette, but not for color work and garter. But I couldn't really say that to her. So yeah. There is something else that happened with the same design actually, and it's someone that it's also a very famous yarn dyer that's making kits for the original Aran weight version, so not the DK weight, but the Aran weight. And they are selling kits with a yarn it's the opposite. It's way, way, way too thick. It's twice as thick as it should, because the suggested yardage for a boucle should be around 150 meters per 100 grams, around. It's very, very rough estimations because all boucle yarns are made differently, but the mid-range should be about 150 meters per 100 grams. And the yarn they sell in the kits is like 80 meters. So that's literally twice as big, twice as thick. So there is no way on earth you could heat gauge with that yarn. And I know for a fact you cannot, because they did knit up a sample in this yarn and they didn't heat gauge at all. Like, I don't need to measure, I can see it's literally 2 times too big. Because on the body, on my sample, I have 4 repeats of the pattern on the body. And on their sample in this yarn, there is only 2. And the sweater is long. It's not as if it was cropped. So it's obvious that they couldn't heat gauge. And it's a little bit, I don't know what to do, because at some point they are making money out of selling kits for one of my patterns with yarn that you cannot get the result of what my pattern promises with this yarn. I think this sentence was not making any sense, but you get the idea. Basically, they are selling kits for something that you cannot get out of the kits they sell. And it's my pattern. And I'm like, I never told them, oh yeah, you can use this yarn for this kit, it's going to work out fine. I never said anything. They never asked anything. So I want to say it's none of my business, because who am I to tell people that working this pattern off gauge is going to look bad? Because I am all about working pattern off gauge. But this is a little bit extreme. Like, you cannot get a size below size 7 or 8, even if you need the smallest size with this yarn. And most people are too small for size 7 or 8. So yeah, it's none of my business, but also it's my pattern. All of this to say, take everything yarn dyers say with a grain of salt, because ultimately they want to sell a product. And most of the time they haven't tried the particular yarn they want to sell with the particular pattern they promote with it, most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. So yeah, it's just a PSA. It's something that had been floating around in my mind for a while, and I didn't really know what to do with those things that happened. And I'm not going to say anything to those yarn dyers, because yeah, I think with the people I have talked about this, they told me that most people that are advanced enough in their knitting journey to knit those patterns, because the Patagonia Peaks is pretty complicated, it's definitely not beginner friendly. So those people should be advanced enough to realize that the yarn is not going to work out, so they can just decide for themselves if they want to knit the pattern off gauge, and if they don't, they just don't buy the kit, or they buy the kit to do something else, I don't know. But yeah, that's what most people told me. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go with that, because really I don't know what to do. What should I do about yarn dyers that suggest a yarn that doesn't work for my patterns? I don't know. It's very difficult, because I don't want to be the person that goes to someone saying, hey, this is a bad idea, because knitting is personal. Something that's a bad idea for me is maybe going to be the best knitting project of their lives for someone else. I don't know. So yeah, it's a little bit delicate. So all of this to say, just use your brain whenever you buy yarn, and don't forget to swatch. Swatching is important. I think that's it. That's all for the knitting. So now we can finally talk about the giveaway. I changed the battery and I started talking and I forgot to press record. So in the last podcast episode 2 weeks ago, I did the giveaway because we hit 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. So thank you so much for that, for your support. And there were so many comments after that video. I think there are like more than 150. Quite a lot of those are mine, but still, a lot of people entered the giveaway, and that really, really warmed my heart. And the prompt to enter the giveaway, so you had to be subscribed, to like the video and comment using the word summer, because it was very random, spur of the moment. I just didn't know what to use as a prompt, and I just used summer because it's my favorite season and I love summer knitting, so summer. And I was surprised to see how many people enjoyed summer. I thought everyone preferred winter, but actually no. I would say about a third of the people said they really enjoyed summer, so that was nice. There is also a possibility that I attract summer-loving people because I do a lot of summer knitting and summer content in general, so maybe there's that. but whatever. And I was also surprised to see that a lot of people have already started summer knitting because they actually knit ahead of season and not during the season. So they start the summer knitting now so that they are done by the time summer is here, so that they can wear the knits for the whole season instead of like 3 weeks at the end of the season before the cold season hits again. Which is interesting, which means I'm not completely out of sync with people, with knitters, I would say. And there is also one comment that was super cute. It's someone who said, winter is for knitting, summer is for living. And I'm pretty sure this is not true for everyone, but for me it's so true. Except I also knit in the summer. But yeah, winter is for knitting, that's for sure. Which is probably why so many people, so many knitters enjoy winter. That being said, I can finally announce the winners of the giveaway. So I have used the random comment picker. I always want to say random picker comment, but no. Random comment picker. So the prices, I had 2 prices. No, I have 5 prices in 2 categories. So the first category was you could choose a yarn unwinder or a sock blocker from my local yarn shop, Douze Broderies. They are 3D printed locally and designed by Sandy, the shop owner. So you could either select one of those for 2 people, and the 3 the 3 other winners could get a free pattern of my Ravelry library, or just pattern library. And that's 5 prizes in total. So first I'm gonna tell who won the bigger prizes, which are either the yarn unwinder or the sock blocker. The first person is Cuddling Cuddles, and that's super cute because it's someone that comments very, very often, so it feels great to give back to someone who's always there in the comment section. And the second person is Happily Knitted, that's even better because this is Nora, which is the person who dyed fiber for me and gifted it to me last year. And I just feel so great to give back something to her because it was such a beautiful gift from her. So I'm very, very pleased with this. And the 3 prizes for the for the patterns from my library. The first person is, I don't know how to say your name, Ulrika Glingborn 4999. I'm so sorry. And this is someone who just tested the pattern for me, and she's about to test another one, and we were chatting about this pattern a few days ago, and she did say she wanted to also make the skitter skirt. So now you're gonna have the skitter skirt for free, even though you already have a free pattern because you just tested the pattern for me, but whatever, you're gonna have multiple free patterns for me. And the next person is Sam Dyers 8236. And I also love that this comment won because they just said summer, and I love that you don't have to make a big comment to win a giveaway, you can just say the keyword and also win. So congratulations to you, you just said summer and you won. And the last person is Gabrielle MS5U, and they said summer is too warm for knitting, which I personally disagree with, but most people agree with you, so I guess summer is too warm for knitting. It also, of course, depends on where you are. But yeah, those 3 people won a free pattern. So all 5 of you I just mentioned, you can send me an email. My email is in the description box and also written up here. Send me an email and please tell me if you want a pattern, which pattern you would like, and if you want the yarn winder or the sock blocker. I'm gonna put the link to Sandy's shop below, and you can browse the website and choose which of the things you want. You can select the type of flower or motif you want. And also send me your address, and I also need your phone number for the customs declarations. And I think that's it. So thank you again for participating in the giveaway. Thank you so much for your support, and hopefully there's going to be a lot more giveaway in the future for the future milestones we're going to hit. Hopefully. But before that, the next video is going to be, I don't think there's going to be I don't think there's going to be a video next week because starting from tomorrow, I'm going to provisoirement move to another town like 30 minutes from here, which is called Montreux, where I did cat sitting last year, around the same season. It was in February or March. And I'm gonna move there for like 2 weeks and a half to take care of the cats, and it's a beautiful place, but I also I know for a fact I'm gonna be more like busy with the cats and just enjoying being there because it's a beautiful, beautiful place and the view is incredible. And yeah, I know I'm just not gonna want to film. I'm just gonna want to knit and work on some designs because I do have a lot of work. So I don't think there's gonna be a video next week unless I have a ton of things to tell you, which is also very possible, but we will see. So I think next time I'm gonna see you is gonna be in 2 weeks for the first stash update of the year for the month of January. And I'm so excited because I did so well for the month of January, so the stats are gonna be awesome. So definitely stay tuned for that. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss this video or any other I'm gonna put out in the future. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your comments, for the tons of comments on the last video. And thank you for the likes. Thank you for everything. I hope you enjoyed this video. Happy knitting. I love you. Bye.